Right now, beneath the sunlight, beneath the waves, beneath the last place a human body could comfortably survive, there is a world where the ordinary rules of life begin to fail. Go down far enough and speed stops mattering. Go down farther and eyesight becomes almost useless. Farther still, and even finding another member of your own species becomes so unlikely that evolution starts making choices that feel less like biology and more like desperation. In that darkness, some animals grow their own light. Some turn red because red becomes invisible there. Some stop chasing food and simply wait motionless like traps. And some males become so disposable that when they finally find a female, they fuse into her body and never leave. That raises a bigger question. If evolution is supposed to reward efficiency, balance, and survival, why does life seem to become more alien the deeper you go? Because the deeper you go, the ocean is not just changing the animals, it is changing the rules. And that is the mystery. Most people imagine the deep ocean as a graveyard of monsters. Giant teeth, huge eyes, endless hunger, a place ruled by brute force. That makes intuitive sense. If the environment gets harsher, the creatures should get tougher. Bigger jaws, stronger muscles, more armor, but that's not what happened. Scientists studying the deep ocean found something much stranger. In many cases, the deepest survivors are not the most aggressive-looking animals at all. They are fragile-looking, soft-bodied, transparent, delicate, sometimes almost absurd. Which means the true mystery is not why deep-sea life looks frightening. It's why so much of it looks impossible. The deeper ocean is an evolutionary crime scene. Every creature down there is evidence that something extreme happened. The question is, what problem was nature trying to solve? Start with the environment itself. As you descend, pressure increases by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters. At 1,000 meters, most organisms with gas-filled spaces would be crushed by pressures that deep-sea life handles routinely. Sunlight disappears below about 200 meters. The water hovers around 4 degrees Celsius. And because there is no sunlight, there is almost no photosynthesis. Which means, for huge parts of the deep ocean, food is always in short supply. That changes everything. A shark can rely on speed. A whale can rely on size. A squid can rely on bursts of motion and vision. But in the deep sea, motion costs energy. Vision loses value. Food is scarce. Mates are scarce. Even opportunity is scarce. So evolution does something unsettling. It stops building animals for abundance and starts building animals for improbability. That is where things become strange. Consider the deep-sea anglerfish. At first glance, it looks like the perfect deep ocean stereotype. Dark body, massive mouth, sharp teeth. A glowing lure hanging in front like a biological fishing rod. But the real story is not the teeth, it's the math. In the midnight zone, chasing prey is expensive. Swimming around burns energy you may never replace. So instead of hunting like a shark, the anglerfish turns itself into an ambush machine. The first ray of its dorsal fin becomes a filament. At the tip sits a glowing lure. Some species even carry bioluminescent bacteria there. It doesn't waste energy searching the dark. It makes the dark come to it. That is already clever. Then evolution makes it worse. Food is scarce in the deep sea. But food is not the rarest thing. The rarest thing is another anglerfish. That is the part people usually miss. In the open ocean's darkness, the problem is not just staying alive long enough to eat. It is surviving long enough to meet someone. And when evolution faces a problem that extreme, it stops caring whether the solution looks elegant. Male deep-sea anglerfish can be tiny compared with the female, just a few centimeters long. The female can be dramatically larger, almost like an entirely different species. The male's job is no longer to dominate territory, fight rivals, or become impressive. His job is to find her. That's it. He follows pheromones through one of the largest habitats on Earth, a place so vast that 2 members of the same species might drift like lost signals in a black planetary desert. And when he finally succeeds, in some species, he bites her body and fuses to it. Not metaphorically, physically. Their circulatory systems merge. His independence ends. He becomes, in effect, a permanent sperm-producing organ attached to her body. That sounds like a horror story, but evolution is not writing horror. It is solving a logistical problem. How do you reproduce when the ocean is so vast, so dark, and so empty that finding a mate twice might be impossible? You stop taking that chance twice. And then the mystery gets deeper because fusing bodies should trigger immune rejection. In most vertebrates, one body does not simply accept another body as permanent tissue. But scientists found that multiple groups of deep-sea anglerfish convergently degenerated parts of their adaptive immunity, allowing this fusion to happen. To survive the deep, they did not just alter behavior. They altered the boundaries of self. That is not just strange. That is evolution rewriting a rule humans take for granted. Who are you, biologically, if your body no longer fiercely protects where you end and something else begins? And anglerfish are only one clue. Because the deeper you go, even the idea of an individual starts to unravel. Take the siphonophore. From a distance, it can look like a single impossible animal, a glowing rope adrift in the dark. Some species form chains longer than a whale. But a siphonophore is not really one creature in the way a shark is one creature, or a human is one creature. It is a colony of connected zooids, each specialized for a task. Some feed, some digest, some reproduce. Some help with movement or structure. None of them could function on their own. Together, they create something that behaves like an individual. So what are you looking at? One animal? Many animals? The question sounds philosophical until you realize evolution answered it practically. In the deep ocean, specialization can become so extreme that nature builds an organism the way a city builds departments. Not one citizen doing everything. A system, a floating coalition, a body made of roles. That is a recurring pattern down there. The deep sea punishes waste. If one design can be divided, outsourced, miniaturized, or repurposed, evolution will do it. And still, none of this is the strangest part. Because if you asked someone to imagine the deepest fish on Earth, they would probably describe a monster. Teeth like needles, skin like armor, eyes like headlights. Instead, the deepest known fish looks almost unfinished. The Mariana snailfish lives at depths of up to about 8,000 meters in the Mariana Trench, with footage recorded even deeper at 8,178 meters. It is small, translucent, lacking the intimidating build people expect from deep-sea predators. Researchers compared the pressure at those depths to an elephant standing on your thumb. And yet this soft, almost ghostly fish is not barely surviving there, it is thriving there. That flips the story again. Because the deepest successful fish is not the one that looks toughest to us. It is the one most precisely edited for conditions we were never meant to endure. Scientists noted that snailfish can live in these trenches where they are largely free of predators, with abundant invertebrate prey collecting in the funnel-like trench environment. They become top predators not by becoming terrifying, but by fitting the system better than anything else. That is one of the deep ocean's favorite tricks. It keeps rewarding the opposite of what we expect. At the surface, looking dangerous often helps. At depth, looking efficient matters more. At the surface, energy can be spent. At depth, energy must be justified. At the surface, finding life is easy. At depth, even encountering another living thing can feel improbable. So the deep does not simply produce weird animals. It creates pressure for weird solutions. That is the answer beginning to take shape. Bioluminescence is not decoration. It is communication, deception, courtship, camouflage, and predation in a place where sunlight never arrives. NOAA notes that in this world of near-complete darkness, animals cannot rely on vision the way surface animals do, and the only light often comes from the organisms themselves. Source red coloration is not bright down there. It becomes a form of invisibility because red light does not penetrate to those depths. Ambush predation is not laziness. It is budgeting. Colonial bodies are not evolutionary confusion. They are division of labor taken to a surreal extreme. Sexual parasitism is not cruelty. It is the price of certainty in a habitat where chance meetings are too rare to trust. And the deeper you go, the more this pattern repeats. Life does not become stranger because evolution loses control. Life becomes stranger because the environment becomes less forgiving. That is a very different kind of fear. It means the deep ocean is not full of bizarre creatures by accident. It is full of creatures that make perfect sense once the world around them becomes severe enough. But there is one more reveal hidden underneath all of this. The deep sea is Earth's largest habitat. And we still know so little about it that almost every serious expedition seems to return with some combination of new footage, new species, or new behavior. Even researchers using advanced underwater robots have logged only a handful of encounters with some deep-sea anglerfishes. That means the strangeness we know may be the shallow end of the story. There are still animals we have barely seen. Systems we do not fully understand. Evolutionary compromises we have not yet recognized. Somewhere in that dark, there may be other solutions to pressure, hunger, loneliness, and survival that make today's nightmares look ordinary. And maybe that is the biggest reveal of all. The mystery was never just why deep-sea creatures look alien. The mystery is why we expected them not to. Of course, life gets stranger down there. We are descending into a place where sunlight stops, where food drifts from above like scraps from another world, where pressure crushes anything built the wrong way, where bodies are forced to become economical, deceptive, or collaborative just to keep functioning. The deep ocean is not a backdrop, it is an editor, a ruthless one. It strips away the unnecessary, it rewards the improbable. It pushes natural selection into corners where familiar designs break and only radical ones remain. That is why a fish grows a lure instead of chasing. Why a male becomes an organ instead of a partner. Why a colony can impersonate an individual. Why the deepest fish can look more like a translucent mistake than a king. The deeper you go, the stranger life gets. Not because nature becomes chaotic, but because it becomes precise in ways that feel inhuman. And maybe that is what unsettles us. These creatures do not just look unfamiliar. They reveal how narrow our idea of normal life really is. For humans, the world was built around air, light, warmth, distance, and abundance. For deep-sea life, it was built around darkness, pressure, scarcity, and chance. So evolution told a different story there. One where beauty is optional. One where individuality is negotiable. One where survival is so difficult that biology begins to resemble science fiction. And still, even now, we are only visitors at the edge of that story. Far below the last glimmer of sunlight, beyond the range where our instincts can help us understand what we are seeing, the ocean keeps its oldest habit. It hides. It hides answers. It hides experiments. It hides entire ways of being alive that we have barely learned how to describe. So the next time someone says the deep sea is full of monsters, the truth is more interesting than that. Monsters are simple. The deep is not. The deep is a place where evolution kept negotiating with the impossible and somehow kept winning. And the farther we descend, the less the planet looks designed for us. And the more it reveals what life can become when the world stops being merciful.